evolves. Now let's get the perspective of security analyst Adib Saani, who himself has been monitoring events in Boko. Mr. Saani, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure, Kojo, and a Merry Christmas.
To you too. So tell us, what are you picking up through your own grapevine and monitoring systems?
Well, Kojo, as a conflict and mediation specialist, I have done a lot of research so far as Boko is concerned. I have contacts on the ground from both sides of the divide. I gather a lot of information from. Albert said a number of very important things we cannot let go. One of it being the fact that the conflict is morphing into something that might pose a serious threat to the security of the state beyond Boko. There's a likelihood that certain individuals aligned to either side are coming from outside Boko to take part in the conflict. However, it is also important to understand that there are certain individuals who are not aligned to neither side, but are, however, taking advantage of the conflict and the lawless nature of the area to engage in other acts of criminality, including robberies, including the sale of weapons that are used for the conflict in that area. In fact, not too long ago, there was a police cable that leaked that pointed to the fact that there were some individuals who had come from Burkina Faso to fight in Boko and could be on their way back. Hence, the police should take note and act accordingly. But the statement further on went to say that they were induced by money and not necessarily terrorist links. But, and this is very important, the possibility of terrorists also taking advantage of what is going on to align themselves with one part so they are able to get some assurances to establish a foothold in Ghana is very high. So like I always say, Boko is a special case because it is our weakest link so far as preventing extremism in Ghana is concerned. So we cannot afford to act like we are fed up with them. They should kill themselves. Enough is enough. No, we'll be making a big mistake because our efforts in bringing peace or towards bringing peace in Boko is a great determinant in deciding whether indeed we'll be able to effectively and efficiently prevent any terrorist attack in Ghana going forward. And one more thing, the conflict has widened and it has become somewhat complicated because lately, a lot of those getting killed are neither Mamprusi nor Kusasi. Neutrals, people who have nothing to do with the conflict, are getting killed by the day. Their vehicles are stopped and they are getting shot. Okay, and that is also very worrying because immediately this happens, we might have those ethnic groups becoming part of the conflict situation, and that, I must say, would pose a bit of a security nightmare to security managers of the country.
Let me ask you this. What do you make of the reports that those behind this attack that has resulted in the death of 7 people were in some way clothed in security services apparel? What do you make of that? What could be the explanation?
Well, Kojo, it's not new. It's not new at all. Sometimes they attack, especially in the thick of the night, when people are in bed. When you least expect, they scale your wall. That is if you have a wall around your house, or they sneak into your room. Sometimes they even avoid using guns because they wouldn't want people to know what is happening. They use knives to slit throats. Okay, and they are able to effectively execute that, sometimes in military apparel. And I think there's a need for an extensive investigation to be done. Because when it happens that way, you might have some thinking that it is indeed the military that is behind that, whereas it might not necessarily be the case. But they are able to get into the communities under the guise of being military men or officers. So when someone sees them through his window, he might think, oh, it's the military who are on their routine patrols. But they are able to effectively stage these attacks by wearing these military camouflage uniforms. And they are also able to get away conveniently after those dastardly acts. So it is a modus operandi that has been used for some time now. And it has not ended and certainly would not be the last. So we need to find ways to mitigate that going forward.
Let's talk about the approach of the security services in dealing with this most recent violence. Uncharacteristically, the police have clammed up. We're not hearing them give us much information as they have done in the past. What's the strategy here? What is informing this preference for silence as opposed to how they dealt with things in the past?
Well, I think that the place, you see, the Boku conflict, I do a lot of analysis. I mean, Kojo, a lot of different security issues come up, and I conveniently say things as it should. But discussing Boku is the most difficult topic for me, because you need to exercise a great deal of tact, circumspection in whatever you see, because it has implications for the security of that area. So I'm not surprised that the police is shying away from making comments about what is happening in that area, as anything they say might just make things spiral out of control. But that notwithstanding, I think it is still important to give some reassurances to the people so they are not made to think that the security services have completely lost control of the situation. I mean, that would result into a free-for-all. And this brings us to the issue of the approach in dealing with the situation on the ground over the years. When you even listen critically to the Peace Council, you would realize that the focus is very much on the kinetic approach. We need to keep the peace, imposition of curfews. Let us ban the use of tricycles. Let us stop people from wearing fugu because they hide the Kalashnikovs in the fugu. Let us suspend festivities and all that. It is not sustainable. It is ad hoc. They might silence the guns today, but because we have not taken the initiative to deal with the underlying fundamental issues, they will fight again tomorrow. I remember 2 months ago, Kojo, the defense minister and some other security stakeholders, including my senior colleague, Dr. Adam Bona, were in Buku, where they met the various sides, okay, who committed to silencing the guns on a certain condition that government would take practical, pragmatic steps to deal in a sustainable way with the issue once and for all. So the people lived up to their part of the bargain by silencing the guns. For about 2 months, not a single shot was fired in Boku. However, I don't think government did much to deal with those fundamental issues. As a result, here we are today. And I would have also expected that, the security services on the ground should know better. When it is time for festivities, such as the Damba, such as the Samampid, it is always likely that you would have some individuals who might be against the celebration, and so would create a certain atmosphere of insecurity, which would indirectly or even directly impact on the celebration in the first place. So intelligence should have been beefed up. Security presence should have also been beefed up. It makes me even wonder how big Boku is that we cannot ensure full security. And, right before the police, some attacks, happen without even them knowing. I think we really need to look into that. But going forward, Kojo, I think that the most important way to deal with this issue is for government to understand that you cannot serve two masters. We need to address the elephant in the room. We need to get into the belly of the beast. Who is the legitimate in that area? But today, if you make it look like this is the legitimate, but through your action, you make the other side also look like they are the legitimate, you create confusion. That is when people come out to fight. In the midst of that confusion, we need to deal with the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. That is extremely critical because there are a lot of weapons in that area. Kojo, believe it or not, I have military friends on the ground who tell me that sometimes they hear certain sounds of gunfire. It makes them shiver. They've never heard it before throughout their training as military officers because there are heavy guns in that area and they are able to hide it. You go to a house, you turn it upside down, you will not see a pin. But let one shot be fired and you see the kind of guns people would come out with. Education is also key. People are born into the conflict. They don't know why they are fighting. Because my father said the side is our enemy. That side killed my grandfather. And so they are my enemies. I don't even know why I'm fighting. So it's a combination of a lot of underlying issues that we need to deal with.
Have we heard any statements from either of the recognized leaders of the two warring factions? Have we heard any of them come out to either deny involvement or even call for calm?
No. What I know is that Kusasis held a very short press conference in which they withdrew from the ethnic peace committee because according to them, they have committed to the process, and it looks like the other side is not satisfying their, part of the bargain or committing to that process. The other side also feels that the Kusasis are making incursions into their territory and killing. So it is a blame game, okay? Everybody is blaming everybody. But so far, none of the sides has come out to ask its supporters to, as it were, give peace a chance. I've been following the two sides on social media, and the kind of things that is put out there, it's quite shocking. I mean, people celebrating violence, killings are done, it is celebrated on social media, and both sides, I must say, are guilty. It is worrying for some of us who have been following what is going on in Boku. And I think the security services have a lot of work, particularly also politicians have a lot of work going forward to do.
No doubt we'll be talking more about this, but hopefully as the situation improves. Adib Saani is a security analyst. Thank you for your time. All right, well, you're still watching The Pulse. Thanks for letting us into your homes. We are back with more, including mayhem on our roads after these.